So then we are back with more understanding from the time of the second tabernacle services, where we find then the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Tzaielic lineage, so then we can understand the time of the end as per Yeshayahu the prophet. We find layers of understanding of the spring feast, the autumn feast, and also the returning of the cities of the Messiah laid waste for many centuries. As we read then Yeshayahu, we find these layers related then with the time of the restoration period, and also the autumn feast and post-autumn feast. These days where the nations are transitioning themselves from the time of the 1,000 years of deceit, or then the time with no holy cities, and then they find themselves in a very bad predicament. Many of the nations, they don't understand the system is changing. However, they want to prolong the time of the deceit. There is a problem. During the time of Daniel, we find then Daniel himself explaining on the second chapter regarding then the statue, then the head of gold, and then the silver, and then the bronze, and then the iron, and then iron with clay. We find ourselves then studying these instructions because then when Daniel gave these understandings precisely as it was then revealed in his dream, then the king of Babylon, the most powerful man in the earth at that time, because Israel went to captivity because they did not maintain the holy Shabbat year, or the yearly Shabbat, and then in a span of 490 years they did not let the land rest as per instructions, so they were then kicked out of the land, and the land rested as per instructions. Then we find the authority and the forward motion was given then to the king of Babylon. So then Daniel informed him on the second chapter precisely as it was in his dream, and then in the third chapter, because the king thought of himself very powerful and so on, is those kinds of situations when the people they have some sort of a leverage in this world, they think much in terms of taking the world by the tail, so to speak, and they don't understand that the creator of the heavens and the earth, at the same time he can let certain situations as far as the understanding of tabernacling, then themselves on their own they begin their quest of finding out what is then the path. As they become aware of the path, then they understand what kind of situation they are involved with in this world. The Messiah himself has said, what is then the profit of a person if a person can gain the entire world? He was explaining of this world system, its lusts, its money, and leverages of many kinds, and then the soul of the person is lost. So then, Daniel had explained then the dream, and then the king of Babylon was then very aware of, and he gave respect then to the creator of the heavens and the earth. Yahweh was then praised. But then later on he changed his mind. Then he decided he should make a statue for himself entirely made of gold, as if he was changing then the times and the seasons and prophecies and so on and so forth, because he was the king. It is the situation, it never changes. A person is placed in a position of some sort of a responsibility, and then the abuses goes on and on and on. So then extending the time of the deceit won't do it. Let's then read a portion of Revelation. Explains then the merchants of the earth. Then you find, and the light of a candle won't be in you, and the voice of then joy, and the bride won't be more in you. He's explaining then the situation regarding then Babylon, the spirit of Babylon, the spirit of being rebels and lustful spirit, sexual. Then you find, for your merchants were the great men of the earth. This is where then the Messiah then speaks. He's explaining a situation regarding then the merchants of the earth. He's not speaking of governments. Let's read it again. For your merchants were the great men of the earth. These after Babylon is destroyed. Let's read it again. For your merchants were, past tense, the great men of the earth. He's not speaking of governments. So let's try and understand what goes on in the world. As then the system of deceit then is waning, it is fading away. Let's understand why. First then, China leads the market of the world. But China has no link with the Holy Creator as far as the covenant with Ibrahim. Now let me ask you this. Do you think the Creator himself made then a covenant with the earth via Ibrahim, and he had the first son, Ishmael? He was a king. Do you think the Creator himself would give his prophecies to a country not related with the covenant? You have to think for a moment, because there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people who are reading from a Greco-Roman translation, absolutely ridiculous, despising the holy instructions. It is the false instructions plus a false Messiah being at work. So let's evaluate. Could the Creator made decision where then he would give the forward motion to a nation not related with his covenant? From the instructions we understand Ibrahim had a couple of sons. The first son was Ibrahim and Hagar. He acquired her in Egypt, and they themselves had a son. His name was Ishmael, and he was a king. From him derived then the Arab nations. Then later, much later, came the second son, Yitzhak, from where tabernacling came from, understandably. As the Creator is then restoring the authority of Ezekiel the 37th chapter, where you find then the first son related with the trade, and then the second son related with the divine. Thus we then close the circle as far as what this earth is related with: trade, and then a sense of divine. We find in Revelation, then for your merchants were the great men of the earth. Some translations they use the word weighty. The understanding weighty means in English decisions made, and they were as if they were law. So the merchants of the earth are then in charge, liking it or not liking it. Governments of this world are secondary, and they can't take over anymore. The system is coming via computer. So then, obviously, nations who were involved with lazy governments for so many years, they had made themselves so important, and some of the leaders of many nations, they don't understand what is then being a regular worker, being a laborer, because they think themselves with some sort of divine nature, and they are purely scoundrels. That's what they are, plain and simple. The Messiah said at the end, then these people would be given relationships, and they want to build a barn. Quote, they were being given then relationships as far as work, and then trade, and so on and so forth. They're going to be doing the mundane situations, and then they're going to be caught unawares. Previously he was given then the understanding and the example of Noah and then Lot, and explaining then how the world is going to end as the second death, when the rain of sulfur comes from heaven. As you can take a trip then to Sodom and the cities of the plain, you find there are yet pieces of sulfur over there in the land. You find over there, it's on the sand over there in many places. So then, obviously these scoundrels leaders who never did understand what it means of get up in the morning, go to work and back and being tired, but they were already born with some sort of leverage from their parents, and then go to university, and then they get in the government. They don't understand what it means of a regular person. In fact, they think regular people are the unchosen, and they themselves are some sort of divine nature. That's why then God gave them their positions. They're going straight down to the inferno. That's why then the Creator himself has made a detour, a very wise detour. The Creator knew for sure these people were so stained with the self-importance. Those are my words, as far as stained is concerned. And then they think themselves of some sort of divine nature. In order to circumvent the situation without jeopardizing his holy instructions, he decided then having a neutral country, or the Eastern Kingdom, known as China, a place for more than thousands of years they are then involved with a trade, far more older than the time of Ibrahim himself. But this truly is not the point. It's not comparing who is older and who is not older. We're explaining then why the Creator himself has decided of having a nation not related with his holy covenant, yet having the forward motion of the trade of the restoration period. Thus then the kingdom of the East. And then later becomes the alignment very clear when then these merchants worldwide will use then fuel. Thus then the sons of Ishmael, they get in line along with China and working together. But then the second transition from China then to the sons of Ishmael must be completed as per Ezekiel the 37th chapter. As we understand, as far as the second son Yitzhak, from where the Messiah came from, then the first city on the land of Cush, as per the instructions of Yeshayahu the prophet. Now, so many of the countries of this world and realms, they want to have their own kind of world, as the holy instructions are always at enmity with this spirit of this world. Now let's understand the Greco-Roman translation, how scoundrels such translation is. Let's say, for instance, United States, North America. You find over there in the Ozarks, the central area of the United States, there is a place over there where the government of this country is then nearly ending a huge project of the new capital of the nation, and then they claim themselves the capital of the world. Places underground, and the highways underground, and trains, you name it. 50 times 6 digits the size of it. It's enormous. They got farming underground, they got oil, they got data, you name it. Now, they thought of themselves of building a city in this mountain, thinking themselves as they are building a holy city of sorts, because it's got 12 gates. So you can imagine what the wrong translation can do. Are the United States people then involved with the crazy situations? Absolutely, they are crazy. First you find then the city over there in the midst of Arkansas and some other, there are 40 states involved in the very center of the U.S. The name is the Ozarks. You find, if you search it, you find it. That's what they thought, a holy city of their own. And they are expecting some sort of a financial problem in the future. Otherwise they wouldn't build this huge place with the stolen money from the government. There are many firms involved with the U.S. government stealing the money. The word is stealing. They print money from behind, and they do many kinds of weird situations. But the problem is, the translation they used gave them a path that was not in line with the real instructions. So let's read it again. For your merchants were the great men of the earth. Now we are reading chapter 1:8. That's when Babylon then is destroyed. Speaking of the spirit of lust and this world. A portion of this chapter is related with the Messiah himself warning his people so then they should return to their services. Because he states, come out of them, my people, so you are not destroyed with them. He's reminding them of the second tabernacle services. And then later explains again, and there are the cities of the plain, and the destruction via then the shout of sulfur. Thus the second death, where the entire world then is in fire. Then, are the nations then excited because of this? Of course not. They want easy life, self-importance. They want to make themselves important. They want to make important decisions. And when they verify at the end of it, they're going straight down. And the Messiah has said the lust of this world, the cares of life, and the pride of life. Prideful. They don't understand a bit of tabernacling, and this world is set for destruction. The buildings where then you live, the place the people are working at, the forests, the sea is going to be 100% destroyed and rebuilt. So the works of the hands of the people of this world, then the whole works is going to be destroyed. That's why the Messiah said, what is the gain if you gain the entire world of this present age? And then at the end you die and go straight down with the others. Soul is lost. But then speaking of trade, then explains, for your merchants were the great men of the earth. He's not speaking of governments, he's speaking of the freighters, merchants. For instance, FedEx, UPS, DHL, and many other freighters, sea freighters, and then you find trains. Those are the people in charge. And there are signs of the new system. You find then the countries of the BRICS coming to Brazil in July of this year for the 6th gathering, and many important decisions shall to be made. So then, why was then the Creator decided of having a nation such as China, as the Eastern Kingdom, then having the forward motion of this time? The answer is very simple, because other people would be included. So the system is coming, can be sure of it. And it's very simple. You find then when a download becomes available and the system is already uploaded, only waiting for the proper time, you find then the purchase of items, payment of items, and then investment of items in the same system, becoming available for every person, whosoever is responsible and knows computers. They can do trade in the computer. So then it removes the power from governments and gives them to people. As they invest and they earn their money honestly, then they purchase more products. As they purchase, generates more packages. Generating more packages, the merchants then, they become what the instructions are indicating. And then later the sons of Ishmael, because of fuel, then they earn the stick of authority of Ezekiel the 37th chapter. So, this was then explained for our benefit. Sometimes when we read the instructions, we think, oh, we are doing God a favor. No, we are doing a favor to ourselves. But then church is truly a problem. What a scoundrel system. There are more people destroyed by the church than during the Second World War. Holocaust. Believe it or not. Damn scoundrels organization because of its system. Then the Messiah said, when you then forget tabernacling and you gain the entire world, at the end won't be worth it, because then the soul is lost. The Messiah was speaking of a system. So then the linkages are becoming simpler. But the problem is people then they try to rid of themselves of this impertinent spirit of independence from tabernacling. As we then observe, for instance, in Brazil, in July, there is a submarine cable. Then starts the nonsenses of nations. You find the United States building in Ozarks a place over there of the new capital. They're going underground like reptiles. And the problem is then above you have huge situation going on with merchants. You have to have more airports and more ports and upgradation, more roads, because the demand for deliveries, they are going to be quadruple at least in a very short time, and later on even more. Then a powerful country that used to be the United States then becomes reptiles. Go over there to the Ozarks and take a trip over there. You can ride in the mountain over there, thousands of miles. And then in Brazil comes then the undersea cable. And then linking up Brazil with Portugal. Portugal is a bankrupt nation. Now what went on in the leadership of Brazil, only God knows. But the problem is they can't control what's coming via online, via cable. The vice president of Brazil went to China and bought 60 times 12 digits of Chinese money. It's a huge amount. And then in July comes the submarine cable. It's already giving you indications of the new system. They only don't know how to handle it. And there are great news. They can't handle it. So then, taxes. That's where then the countries, they understand, they are already on the line. When the system becomes available via computer, they can give bye-bye to their own titles and self-importances and so on and so forth. Taxes, virtual monetary systems, conversion of monies. How are they going to charge taxes? You earn from a system where there is no link with central banks. The example is then Bitcoin. Though there are some skirmishes regarding bankruptcy and so on and so forth, but They did understand that the system is very reliable. But there is no link with central banks. So the desire for manipulation of nations then is absolutely out of it. And that's where they fear the most. But they can fear a whole lot more, because when the new system becomes available, there won't be links with central banks. It will be linked with China. Six digits, 12 digits, and you don't pay a dime in taxes. You can take your earnings from Chinese yuan, you can do a conversion with a Bitcoin or any other kind of a monetary system not related with central bank. Thus you don't have to pay taxes. Then how they should then go forward with it and trying to earn some taxes, because governments are scoundrels, they do it by force. But how are they going to use force against the instructions? Great Britain had the best for 800 years, United States for a couple hundred. 800 plus a couple of hundred makes 1,000. The 1,000 years of deceit is over with. Now comes the restoration period, and then the power going out of the governments, given to merchants, and the people then have the power. How can they deduct taxes? Via the freighters. That's why then the merchants of the earth were the great men of the earth, and their decisions were weighty. Oh, they can get angry as much as they can. The king of Babylon was the most powerful man in the face of the earth during the time of Daniel. He couldn't move an inch against the holy instructions. What precisely Daniel and the prophets said must be completed. When we read, "and the merchants of the earth were the great men," then means the system Daniel spoke of in the 12th chapter, and then the knowledge shalt increase was for the purpose of trade. When a person then makes a purchase via online, what does it take place? When a person in a country uses the local monetary system, you can use Bitcoin if you want. And then you purchase your item, then you select a freighter to take the item for you and bring it to your home. When you pay for the item, then instantly, most of the time, you pay taxes. Now, if you are dealing with outside of the country monetary system, without a conversion, you don't pay any taxes. Bitcoin, there is not a link with the central bank. The only way they can charge taxes with a legal system not linked with the central bank is via the merchants. When the merchants, they print out a label before they placed on the box, then via this label comes then a description of the item, the price, and taxation instantly deducted via online. That's the only way it works. Let's take the example of United States, for instance. A great country. It was a very responsible country. But in the last few years, there is so much expenditure, absolutely out of control. Not only this, then the President Obama going around and making a tour of Asia and then promoting state-governed type of departments, trying to make governments grandiose, and the whole instructions are teaching the contrary. What could you expect? They built a city of their own over there in the midst of the Ozarks. They're going to be underground like reptiles. They don't understand the first holy city is on the land of Cush. Thousands of miles from them. And then they understand they are the second beast of Revelation. What can we say? Can we then take the instructions and not speak on the cost of our own peril? Absolutely not. We should speak as the instructions are then indicating. So then we instruct other people via the layerings of the prophets and saving our own souls. We are not doing a favor to God. There are people that are so religious, they think, because they read the instructions, then they are doing a God a favor. No, they are saving their own souls. Sometimes we treat the Holy Creator as if He was owning something or owing something. And when people they have this kind of situation going on, then they make themselves more important than they should have. That's where then pride and destructive pride of life then destroys their own soul at the end. And this world can't satisfy it. You can do the greatest job in the earth for a person and they are never satisfied. Always something lacking, this, then the other, and then pointing fingers and blah blah blah, never satisfied. It takes sometimes a retrospective. How were we a year ago? How much was on? But if a person does not maintain a diary, this was done today, the other was done the other day, but they take for granted. They understand they came from A, they are on M until Z. It's always more. It is absolutely insatiable. So then, speaking of trade, for your merchants were the great men of the earth. Explaining the merchants, the freighters are in charge. Liking it or not liking it. So then, we should love our souls. In quote the word love, we should maintain the path and study the instructions. Now, we won't be stupid as King of Babylon was, would we? try to make a statue of gold for ourselves, such as maintaining the old system or then the times of deceit in trying to prolong further. That's being stupid. Such as is stupid having a cable going to Brazil then Portugal, so as stupid building in a place over there in the Ozarks thinking they are some sort of a holy city. It's pure stupidity. So then, later on I'm going to evaluate these further, because there are indications also in the prophets related with the merchants, such as then Yeshayahu the 62nd chapter. So please stay tuned, much more coming up.